Um, so tell me a little bit about Oscar Mike, how it came about, because I know you had your accident. You said you had a dark 6 years, right?
Yeah. Well, what, so I had just gotten back from the invasion. I was doing
Mhm.
fine mentally. I felt like, um, and I don't think any of the effects of any of that kind of stuff even start to creep in for a while. Um, and usually it's after the transition out. But then I went from the invasion to being paralyzed to right when I got home from the hospital. I'd been with a girl for 7.5 years at that time, and she fell asleep at the wheel on her way home to my house after work one night, and she died in the accident. And
Oh my God.
so it was just, uh, that destroyed me. I felt like I was doing all right with mentally from the war. I was doing all right mentally from my accident, but when she passed, it was the last straw. I broke, and I broke hard.
Holy crap, man. That how long after your accident did that happen?
It was within a couple months of me getting home from the hospital out of rehab. So it was really fast.
And you know, I mean, I couldn't imagine being in a situation like that where my significant other, somebody who I loved, was just taken from me in a time when I was at my most peak of vulnerability. What types of things did you do to recover from that?
Well, I didn't really want to. I think the the suicidal tendencies were at their max. You know, I I didn't want to reach out to anybody for help. I didn't want anybody's help. I just had no desire to continue on. My purpose, my passion, my love, everything was gone, and so was my physical ability. Right before we started the podcast, when we were talking, you were telling me about jujitsu and being sore, and I was telling you how much I miss jujitsu because that was a big piece of me prior to my accident. My always just testing myself physically, and kind of turning my body and mind into um, uh, a sharp weapon. Was what I really enjoyed doing, and then that was all taken from me. I felt like, now um, now I figured out that it didn't have to end there. And I'm glad that it didn't. And I think the only reason that I didn't end up following through, even though I wanted to every day, and was sleeping with my rifle, basically just trying to get myself to pull the trigger. My mom was I was staying at my parents' house, and my room was right down the hall from them, and I just didn't want my mom to find me like that, because she was already, she if you could imagine, I can only imagine what it's like being a mother and having to spend 24 hours a day awake watching the news to see a glimpse of your son's unit, and the worry that comes along with that, and then and then having to watch me go through rehab and barely surviving an accident, to being a quadriplegic and paralyzed from the neck down, to watching your son lose the love of his life. And she was having a really hard time with all of it, and you could just see it, how it affected her. So I didn't end up, I never pulled the trigger, and every day I would kind of be angry with her without her knowing the reason why I was angry. But it was like, this is all your fault that I can't pull this trigger. And in the end, it ended up being a blessing, because now I get to do what I do, and I wouldn't change it for the world now.
Was there a specific thing that kind of made the switch in your head that kind of pulled you out of it, or was it just kind of like a gradual thing that you woke up every day and it became a little bit easier to deal with?
Now, a friend of mine showed up unexpected at my house one day, and just my I had to the area to my room. They remodeled a 2-car garage into like a little studio apartment for me, and my friend just showed up unannounced, walks right in the door, and he saw me sitting at the edge of my bed with my rifle, and I quick put it down and just pushed the pillow over it. It was already too late. He saw me, and he basically, pretended like nothing had happened there, and just talked to me like a friend normally would, or said all the same things that he normally would. Except he told me that I should go to this event, this skiing event for people with disabilities, and it was coming up real soon. So he signed me up, or helped me sign up for it, and then I had this thing that I had to wait for, to come around the corner, and I went with him. At first, I definitely resisted. He had tried to get me to go the year prior too, and I didn't go because I thought, man, I'm a quadriplegic. Skiing is not going to happen. And then I eventually agreed to it, and I went. And I was sitting there at the top of a mountain, and I talk about this all the time. And I just say something clicked in that moment, because I felt like alive. I felt fear. I didn't know what the outcome was going to be when I started going down this mountain. I thought I was going to break everything I had left. But that fear and adrenaline that I had gave me something that I hadn't felt in a really long time. And I quickly became addicted. I mean, I do have a pretty addictive personality, and I got hooked on that basically, and life again. I signed up for school almost immediately after that. I went skydiving right after that. I signed up for the National Veteran Wheelchair Games. I started competing in things, and the trajectory just changed like immediately.